All right. Good afternoon, Dan. It's been a while, man. You look like you got that beard growing. Probably been in the hills elk hunting, I'm sure.
Yeah, kind of start off fresh for antelope when it's hot and just let her go into the cold late season. So we're right on schedule with the beard.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what a fun podcast today, man. Just talking about all the elk encounters, good and bad, and lessons learned, man. It's like so much great elk hunting content and information in this one.
Yeah, really, really so that with man, and I'm tired too. My knees are hurting. I'm feeling it, but it just means it was a good season and I feel alive. And that's why we do it, right? It's feeling alive. We worked for all these bulls and the experiences that we had. So yeah, just a great season. It's always fun to catch up. This is probably my favorite time of the year to podcast because we have all this fresh stuff to talk about. And that's what this was just talking about all our interesting encounters and successes and failures and misses. Good grief.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I do too. I feel like we could podcast right now for about 5 hours. We just barely scratched the surface, but so much good stuff in there. The wind and shots and misses and making plays. So much good, like high level information. So yeah, I think guys will enjoy this. We'll get right into it. We just want to thank a couple sponsors. I want to thank Everly Stock. Used that mod frame this year, that E-frame system.
Yeah, the mod frame with that Brooks bag. It's a elk slinging machine, that's for sure. Packing out quarters and faster than ever, hooking up a hind quarter on your pack and carrying it out. I really enjoyed it. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, the meat shelf was great. Like not to have to put it in my bag this year. Just packs the weight so good. The load lifters on this one, the redesigned hip belt. I could just get that load on my hips, and it seems like it rode really good on me this season. I did a ton of backpacking, and so I would load all my camp into that and make my way into country. So yeah, I was really happy with it. Yeah, the mod frame Brooks bag. I think that Brooks bag is it the 7,000 cubic inch? Is that right, Dan?
The
Or is
one
it
I have,
five?
I think it's 5. Yeah,
Five.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Like I say, we're a bit delirious. We've been elk hunting so much. Yeah. The 5,000 cubic inch, which was plenty of room for me to get my entire camp in, all my food, all my stuff. Really like that lid on it. But yeah, man, did great for me.
yeah, yeah. Great all around pack, and it is by far the best pack that I've used from Everly Stock. I will say that for just an all around meat hauler, use and abuse. Yeah, the mod frame.
Yep. Yep. And I've also been liking that free fall pack as well, that 3,000 cubic inch for day hunts, man. It's kind of nice to cut the weight down and have a lightweight pack that I can hunt with that cinches really tight to my back. So yeah, I've been enjoying that as well. And yeah, then the bando bags are their fanny packs for like super lightweight quick goes has been kind of nice as well. So yeah, go check them out over at Everly Stock. They're just producing great stuff. Also want to thank Stealth Cam. You had quite a few cameras out this year. Did it help you find that big antelope you arrowed?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, in early season there. Yeah, it's fun to have the cameras out and kind of see what's running around and getting pictures and stuff. So yeah, pretty streamlined cameras, worked really well. And make sure you pay attention to your local laws and stuff, but they have cell cameras and they have just the analog cameras. It's like dial-up internet. You got to go out there in person and check them. But yeah, no, good stuff. Used them quite a bit for antelope, especially. And I dropped one on one of my favorite elk wallows too, and so I need to go back up there and see what I got on there for content this year. But yeah, definitely a great tool for any Western hunter to have.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my cameraman Cole, he hunts a lot of whitetails and uses those stealth cams. And man, they just they're able to just it's kind of like they're scouting at how they can tell what animals are in the area. And I think us Western guys can definitely take a page out of their book to be able to figure out what animals are in the area and what they're using. And like you say, it's just getting in the habit of using them. And yeah, definitely check your laws and make sure your state allows them during season or prior to season. But yeah, it just gives you a catalog or what's there. So it helps with like goals as well, and knowing that there's a big 6-point bull or knowing that there's a big antelope in the unit, like in your case. So yeah, check those guys out. Thanks for their support over at Stealth Cam. And Also, our buddy Travis Nowotny at Goat Knives, man, what a bull he killed. Man, that thing was a monster, huh?
Yeah, said his new personal best. I think he said it was 380 something. Just a giant general bull. Unbelievable.
Yeah, crazy bull. Good for him. He's such a great bow hunter and great knives. Yeah, I used their knives all season long and worked really well. So, really well designed. I definitely like the replaceable blade knives. It's surgically sharp, and I can just make quick work of things. But I found myself also packing that fixed blade. I used it for like my antelope this year, and I enjoyed having like a quality fixed blade knife as well. So yeah, just producing great stuff no matter what you prefer as far as knives.
Yeah, really universal. I like having both of them in my pack. I like that surgical blade for the detailed work or like caping around the eyes and doing the eyelids and stuff like that. And then it is nice to have a heavy blade that you work with bone with, and you're not worried you're going to break it or go dull on you or whatever. That's the chamois that I was using. But yeah, we have that giveaway still going, right, with Capper Hunter TI, the Life of the Bow Hunter specific edition knife through Goat Knives. So yeah, make sure you guys get in on that giveaway.
Yeah. So the giveaway is we'll put out a post with the knife, and on that specific post, it's on Eastman's Life of a Bow Hunter page. Follow that. Follow Goat Knives. You also follow Dan and I's personal page, but just put on the comments, send it in that specific Goat Knives. We're giving one away a month. It's really nice at Travis and Goat Knives to present that. They're custom engraved, and I've seen, or they have like the Eastman's logo on them, right?
Well, we're getting the Life of the Bowhunter podcast logo on there as well.
Oh, cool. Right on. Yeah. I saw a couple guys that have won it, and they were super stoked. And so, yeah, we'll be giving away one a month. So make sure to look out for those posts on Eastman's Life of a Bowhunter. Just comment, send it, and you're entered into the drawing. So pretty easy stuff there, and win a goat knife.
Heck yeah. Instagram. That's where it's happening.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, with that, man, do we have our current season all the way out on Beyond the Grid?
Yeah, I think we are. That's for releases for deer and elk. Yeah. Make sure you check them out. We released a lot of these episodes in July, August, and into September. So lots of elk hunting. Thanks for everybody for watching. Great feedback from everybody. Great comments. And yeah, we can't wait to do it again. We're building it for 2026 with all this new content we're doing for another season of Beyond the Grid.
Yep. Good stuff there. We also have a giveaway for the Eastman's bundle pack. They're giving away a Everly stock bino harness there with that. If you do the membership bundle, make sure to check out the Deer Collective, Elk Collective, other podcasts, other things we're doing. Of course, the magazines, we've been writing a bunch in there. I was good this year. I got ahead of all my writing obligations so I could really be gone. Got ahead of all my podcast obligations. Man, it was nice to get away from the phone, get away from the interwebs, like everything. It was a really good break for me and good reset. But yeah, it felt good to get all my work done. But make sure to check out those magazines, everything we're doing at Eastman's. Dan and I do have to get back to work. We've had a bunch of time off, but it sure has been fun.
That's right. Back to the other kind of work that we do.
Yep, that's it. Yep, for sure. All right, let's get into this podcast, Dan. It's a good one.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. You're alive, Dan. You didn't get eaten by a grizzly bear yet, huh?
That's right. I tried to stay away from them things this year. I did for the most part.
Gotcha. I had touch and go the other day. Ran into some fresh tracks and one messing around the hillside, but yeah, he didn't come in and charge me anyways. So
yeah, good bears this year for the most part where I was as well. So that's a plus.
They said the choke cherries were really good. I was talking to the grizzly conflict manager here in my area. Like he manages Tom Minor Basin and Madison Valley and things. And he was saying like it was a really good crop of choke cherries, apples, things kind of in the lowlands that a lot of those grizzly bears were down low.
Interesting. Yeah, just out east from Matitsi out in the desert the other day, we jumped a big old boar out in the sagebrush, antelope hunting. So yeah, they're definitely in weird places this year.
Yeah, that is strange. I'm going on a mule deer hunt here. In fact, I'm going to leave tomorrow, and I got a pretty good plan, but we're working a big bottom and then working like kind of the coulees and canyons off this bottom. It's a really cool game plan spot I've been developing for a couple of years. I'm really excited to like get it before rifle opens up. But there has been grizzly bears spotted down in that bottom, so I have to mind my P's and Q's down in there. So the season isn't over yet. I can still run into another.
That's right. It's not too late to have an encounter.
Yeah. What an epic season, dude. I saw like a couple bulls come across my feed, or I think 3 bulls. Yeah, me and you tried to keep in contact through text, but man, I was out of service so much this year. It was just a great season with a bunch of days of field. Looked like you had a good season as well.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a flash in the pan. It feels like I can't believe it's already October, starting at August 15th, chasing antelope and then into elk into September. But yeah, I don't even know where to start, Brian.
Heck of an antelope too, man. You killed a monster antelope.
Yeah. Finally caught up with that buck that I'd missed him twice in August after 5-6 days of going after him. And I was hunting with a couple buddies September 1st, and I tell you what, I came in September 1st and I was pretty friggin' pissed. I missed that buck, and I was like, guys, don't take it personal. I might not be in a good mood in the next couple days, but I'm pretty pissed off with this antelope hunting.
I don't blame you, man. Those things, they're so challenging, man, and so tough. And well, I'm glad to hear I wasn't the only one that had some misses this season. How come you missed them in August, you think? Did you review the footage or replay it in your mind or know what happened?
I don't really want to talk about it. No, I'm just joking.
Me neither.
No, the first time I missed him, he's just moving quick, and he was kind of close to the road, and it was just a little stock, and he was just cresting over the hill, and he had seen us, and it was all pretty hurried, and range, and he was in this deep sage up to his brisket, and I was kind of below him. And so I think I was just off about 5 or 6 yards on my range. Mm-hmm. And instead of getting that, 5 or 6 confident ranges, and I was probably a little extra shaky this time, huge buck. And so I got about 2 ranges, and I was like, yep, he's probably 74. And no, he was probably like 83 is what he was. Because I held for 75 and shot right underneath him is what we could gather. So that was the first miss. And that was, we'd just seen him. And so this was like, we don't really know the buck yet. We don't know his tendencies. We'd been hunting the area, and we hadn't seen him after like 2 or 3 days. So this could be a here today, gone tomorrow type buck too, especially coming into the rut. You just don't know. And so I was like, we need to make this happen right now. And yeah, that's what happened. And I shot under him because I didn't give the extra time to get 5 or 6 extra ranges. And, hindsight's 2020. I should have waited because he wasn't that spooky. He was just standing there looking at us, but he was cruising. And so you're just weighing out all these little details and odds when you find yourself in one of these scenarios, and you try to make the most and the best decisions that you can for that particular scenario. And it's just one I failed on. I mean, that's just all it is. It was just a failure, and I didn't have a good range on that first shot.
Mm-hmm. Well, you came back with the perfect heart shot on that thing, so you definitely made good on it, and that kind of takes the pain away of those misses. Is when you make a good arrow, especially on the same antelope you were after. Yeah, it's just difficult, man. I love the way you describe that. Like, try to make the best decisions in the moment, and then you have to live with them. And man, I had some of those moments this year. It's like elk just gave me fits, man. It was yeah, I just had some scenarios that would go down, and some where I didn't capitalize soon enough. Like you, I like to play the game, and then usually they offer me a shot. And so, like, my favorite on elk is get a range, draw my bow, and then cow call and stop them, execute my shot, or have them stop on their own is the best. But it just seems like I was chasing them in the timber a bunch, and man, I'd have, it was like you could shoot all the cows or the satellite bull, and then the herd bull would come through 20 yards further, or he'd come through an opening and I'd get a range, set my bow, go to draw, and he'd be through that opening. I'm like, God, I got to get more aggressive. Like I might have to cow call and stop him and then get my range and draw my bow as he's looking at me, because those elk are just so good at like walking away from me that I would get these chances. And even though I never spooked them, that would be my opportunity. And then I'd chase bugles and then they disappear or get over the ridge on me. And it was like, oh man, I blew it, you know, but I like had so many days, so many close encounters, and chased so many good bulls. Like every day I elk hunted, I was on a 6-point bull. Maybe not every morning and night, but every day I saw and chase one. But yeah, I also had a couple misses, and I had one that took me to the lowest place I've been in bow hunting in a long time, dude. Like I was like wanted to throw a tantrum and I just couldn't figure out what I did wrong. And so it took a little reflection, took a couple nights sleep, and then I was finally able to get over it. And I did arrow a nice 6-point bull in the end, but I had this bull, dude. And I had hunted him, and I caught him that night, and he split off from the cows. And so I made this play down, and he was like this really good, a wide looking bull, and he just groaned. He didn't even bugle really, like one of those real old ones. And really nice bull. He had a bunch of cows. I dropped in after him, and he split from his cows and went up in the timber. And I'm not sure if he was trying to gather up some more of this other bull's cows or actually trying to chase that other bull off, but he was really aggressive in there. And so I got in and I was trying to like decide, do I get in between him and his cows, or do I go right for him up in this timber while he's kind of by himself messing with this other bull and kind of chasing things around? And so I'm sitting there trying to decide, and I get down, and the thermal should be going down. And I played the winds really well this night, or really well this season. There was only like one instance where I really screwed up and got winded, where I just didn't slow play it long enough and ended up, didn't play the thermals good enough. But anyways, that's another story. So I played the wind good on them, and I get down in there, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to go for him or not. And I'm close. I'm like 125 yards, 150 yards, probably the perfect place for a call. But instead, I just kind of sneaked through the sage right there. And then he bugles and must have heard me walking in that sage and was just coming right for me. So I basically called him in without making any calls. And he's coming for me. And I get my cameraman down behind me to a kneeling position. I get down to a kneeling position, and he's just running, just like raged out, running right at us to come fight us or gather us up or whatever he's going to do. And so right as he's coming through the trees, man, I draw back, and he comes through. I had ranged a bush at 40, and he was way closer than that. I figured him at 30, and he came through, and he gave me like forward facing, almost like a slightly quartering, like small window that I had to hit and put that arrow, but I felt confident he was close enough. I was going to run one right in the front of him right there. And he came down through, put the pin, the 30 pin where I needed it, executed, and did nothing. Like didn't touch that thing. I had no idea what went wrong. I'm like, there's no way I missed it. All my pins were on him. There's no, like, I have no idea. Like, I felt like I was a 18-year-old kid again, like when you're just duffing shots. Like, I didn't know what I did. Now, I gave myself permission to punch that shot off, but I'm normally pretty accurate punching, especially at 30 yards or 25 or whatever it is. And I figured if he was at 25 yards and I shot my 30 pin, so I hit a couple inches high, it would have killed him. And if he was further than that, 35 yards, and I shot 30, it still would have killed him. There's no way I freaking missed that. Like, I just don't understand. And I mean, it took me to a low of bow hunting because I'd been hunting so hard, and I finally got this opportunity, and I screwed it up, and I had no reason why I screwed it up. I could not figure it out. I tried to watch back on the little LCD screen, and I'm like, I just don't, man, I must have shot low or high. I punched it. Remember, my pin was a little low. I brought it up where I wanted it. God, my follow through, or I must have just punched it higher. So anyways, just beside myself. that was like the last of a 10 or 11 day rip after elk, and it ended that way. So I hiked out. I don't think I was a pleasure to be around for my cameraman. I don't think I said 5 words to him going out. It wasn't him. I was just mad at myself, and I couldn't figure out how I missed. And I got home and I reviewed the footage, and elk weighed on the arrow. This elk, like I put it right where I can put like the dot of my pin right where I wanted to hit, right where I put my pin on that bull. I execute that shot, and that bull loads up and drops 12 to 16 inches and rolls away from me. And my arrow slides right in the crotch of his neck, like didn't hit him, but sliced through the hair on the top of his deal. And it's like, I can hold the tip of my pin exactly where I want to hit on that bull. And I watched that bull duck under, and I watched that arrow hit the exact spot on the tip of my pin that I was arrowing from that bull. At 25 yards, that bull loaded up and ducked that arrow, and it went right by his neck. And so after that, I felt way better about the situation. It was like I hit exactly where I was aiming. He just loaded up and went. And I have to be honest, like I've never seen that before on a bull. So I'll have to send you. I got the footage on my phone, and it's pretty wild, man. But that took me to a low. And after I got home, reviewed the footage, I felt, like I did my part, and I was able to pick myself back up, shoot hundreds of arrows the next couple days, and then get out and make a perfect shot on a bull. But man, oh man, that just crushed me, man.
Just when you think elk, they can't, you think they're too big to really move that much and really play a Houdini on you like that, and they go and do that stuff. It's weird. And I don't know, he was so tuned up because he was expecting to see a bull or a cow, and he was tuned up. His muscles are loaded, and he's ready for a confrontation or whatever that might be. And his reflexes, because he was on guard, and I've had that happen too. That's part of the deal for sure.
Oh man, it was absolutely wild. Yeah, but yeah, it just happens. It's just bow hunting, and like you say, you try to make the best decisions you can when you're in the moment and execute the best shots. But yeah, strange things happen, man. It's like really wild. So yeah, I'm gonna send you this thing so you can see it real quick, and you'll have to take your time and then put the pin where you'd shoot that bull, and then watch that arrow hit in the crotch of his neck. But it's pretty wild footage, man.
Wow.
It's just on my phone or whatever. But yeah, I sent it over to you. But yeah, so it was a trying season for me. Like last year, I hunted 3 days and killed 2 great bulls. And this year, man, I think 25 days hunting elk, 30 days hunting elk for one good 6-point, which,
Wow.
It was awesome effort, and I learned so much and so many great encounters. But yeah, man, they gave me fits this season. Chased a lot in the timber, a lot of those fleeting opportunities, a lot of just looking for the bull I wanted to kill, a nice mature 6-point. So definitely passed like a lot of 5s and small 6s. But yeah, heck of a season, man. It's like it was well earned this year, and I learned a lot. I'm a better elk hunter because of it, and I had an absolute blast, man. It was wild. Hunted them the way I wanted to. A lot of backpack hunting, and yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was talking to guys across the West. It was definitely a weird year. I'm sure you probably experienced the same thing, just on activity in the rut. And for me, I didn't really hear a real bugle until like this 15th of September.
Wow.
It was really late, and that can vary, on every unit to unit, based on weather, based on precip, obviously elk density, hunter pressure, all that stuff. But totally an off year is kind of what I experienced as well. And I hunted a lot of timber this year too. Thinking about it, my first bull that I killed, I hadn't heard a bugle in 5 days. And the bulls I were finding were just young bulls, little tiny bulls that were hitting wallows. So I had Josiah on that hunt with me, and we sat wallows and we got footage and we saw little bulls. And I'm like, where are the 6-point bulls? And I hadn't seen any cows yet either. And it was one of those situations where you're kind of stuck in there. You have the time allotted for the area that you're going to be hunting, so you're just going to stick it out. I mean, the young bulls are there. It's September 12th, and you're just waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to turn on. And the morning I killed my bull, I heard my first bugle, from a mature bull, a 6x6. I laid eyes on him, and he had 6 cows with him, and he was on private and public boundary right there. So I was like, hell, let's just stage. We're going to hang out and stage. And, at the minimum, they wander onto public, and at the, that would be the maximum, I guess. At maximum, yeah, they're going to wander on the public, and we're have a chance at them. At the minimum, we'll be hanging here, and maybe they'll attract more elk. I mean, he wasn't bugling very loud, but just the scent of cows in the drainage, it definitely ain't going to hurt you. So we made a loop around after we first spotted him, and we're just still hunting through the timber, through this lodgepole, just flat, rolly timber. And so you could see, and it was open enough where you could see the ground coverage, and there's no feed in the timber. But I look down, I see an elk, and it's coming towards us. It almost caught me off guard. It was like too good to be true. And I look, and I'm like, that's a good bull. And he's got his nose to the ground, and he's just slow walking. And he would walk, and he's just smelling like a dog, just nose to the ground, like he's following something. And then he would stop and smell, and then look around, and then he would take a few more steps, just lumbering along. And I just slid down the hill and kind of just got in front of him and got within 64 yards as he came by and shot him. That was my elk hunt. I didn't even do anything. It was just kind of luck, and taking advantage of just an oddball situation. And, after that week of hunting, I was like, you start questioning everything you know about elk hunting, because they're just not acting like they're supposed to act. I told Joe, I was like, Joe, of all the years that I've just still hunted lodgepole like this, the odds of this happening are very slim, let alone like on a big mature 336 point, like very slim. And it happened this year. So of all the years that something weird's going to happen, it's going to be something like this happened. And so I hit him, and he ducked the string. He saw me draw, and he stopped, and I had to like step to the right to get my lane. And I just had like that back rib quartering away, and he saw me and kind of got tuned up, and I fired, and he kind of spun going away, quartering away. And that arrow just caught him on the last rib, right? Just perfect quartering away. And he went 60 yards and stopped, and we're just like, holy smokes, like, don't say a word. We're just watching him. I can see his body down there, and it happens quick. It's just like with your bull, like, you heard the clock, and you got a good hit, but you don't really know because it happened so quick. And so we reviewed the footage while this elk's standing down there in the lodgepole at about 120 yards. And we're like, heck yeah, that looked good. I mean, he's toast. And I looked through the timber, and I told Joe, I'm like, I'm looking through my binos, and I'm like, Merry Christmas, Joe. I can see Christmas colors. And we were joking about it because on the end of those Bloodsport arrows, we have the red inserts and then the green Evolution hide broadheads. And I could see that sticking out the far side, just nice and tight, close to that shoulder. And this bull was just standing there with his head down like that, with the Christmas colors sticking out. I could see that big old hide broadhead sticking out of him. And I'm like, it's over. We just got to give him time. And so we just hung out and watched him. He laid down and expired, and that was it. Just a crazy deal. Just a weird, you couldn't have drawn it up if you tried to, but that's kind of how all my hunting was this year. I didn't call a bull in this year. I didn't call one in. I got stories upon stories, but yeah, just, my other 2 hunts, they were odd. And then, this last one in Montana on general, it was odd too. I mean, they were bugling and stuff, but just got in front of the herd, and they came wandering by, and I was like, that's a mature 6 point, and shot him at 50 yards as he walked by. It's just positioning, right? And we talk about this, just bow hunting in general, understanding topography, understanding behavior, and then utilizing wind currents, and then positioning yourself for where elk want to be. And if you can get that figured out, not only are you going to have opportunities at elk wandering by, as you want to call it, or calling a bull in, that it's much easier to call an elk in when you're where he wants to go in the first place. And so you're setting yourself up for success by figuring out the positioning aspect. So that was probably the theme of elk hunting this year, with the weird year of bugling in the rut. It was positioning. That's all it really was.
Yeah, positioning and then capitalizing on opportunities, man. Like when you get to be a killer, you just like you make the right moves at the right times, kind of make the right calls, and then you like to capitalize on those opportunities. Like you have to not get caught or busted by the bull. He can't see you moving. Like you say, you got to play the winds right, and winds can be dicey. There's a lot of things that have to go right, and then you have to execute a good shot as well. So like you did your part and capitalized on the opportunities, positioned yourself well. And yeah, I found myself making a lot of plays on elk this year and a lot of really good plays. Gosh, I played the winds. I always say it's like this higher understanding of the directionals and thermals and what the winds are going to do, slow playing opportunities, and kind of letting that shade get on that hillside before you make plays on bulls. And then one like high level move that I was really doing this year is I found myself one day like in a rut fest. There was like 6 or 8 bulls that I was chasing and they were bugling. I was actually following one great big one that I'd been hunting for 2 or 3 days, and then a bunch of elk joined up with him, and then they were bugling everywhere and I couldn't even track which one he was because there was a couple big ones in there. I ended up chasing the wrong bull one day and ended up with like after like about a 310 315 versus the 360 that I was chasing, but he sounded big and he was up above the hill. But anyways, I'm chasing these elk and I kind of learned a lesson. There's like 6 or 8 bulls bugling their heads off, and I'm chasing these bugles almost like they're like axis in the brush, where you just hear a bugle, you're going for them, but they're all like moving and transitioning from this feeding to bedding. And so by the time you slow down and you creep into the spot where he was, now he bugles at you and he's another 100 yards further, or he's another 100 yards down the canyon, and you're trying to play this wind, but I'm just chasing behind him the whole time. And I never really catch up. I have that chance to that 310, 315 bull. But I was really after that big one in and through there. And so anyways, they get away. And then the next morning they do the same dang thing. They're in the same feeding feature and they're moving through this timber again. And this time, instead of chasing these bugles, I like kept the direction, or the thermals are coming down at me now, and I have the directionals, so I like to have the wind, and instead of chasing these bugles, I'm trying to get in front of this big mass of elk so then they walk by me, and so, and I keep like circling around and getting in front of them and having them come by me right there. And man, I had some great bulls in some windows and they would just walk through, and I had one stopped in bow range, and I just couldn't get my arrow to go through the window to hit the window that was open where I could see his vitals. But I was like playing the game way better that way. Instead of like chasing this bugle and kept chasing these elk trying to catch up to the back of them, I was like circling around with a good wind and like getting in front of them and letting them come by me. And I know these lessons, but that really helped throughout my elk season, is like, instead of trying to chase exactly where they're at, chase where they're going to be. And so I played that game quite a bit this year. And actually probably the reason why I killed that good 6-point bull and why I got more opportunities is starting to chase like where they're headed instead of where they're at. And that was a huge like revelation for me, and like I really felt like I was hunting elk at a high level doing that.
Yeah, yeah. And every place is so different with their movements from feeding to bedding as well. And of course, the more they do move, the better it is for the hunter, right? Because if they're on their feet and they're going from point A to point B, you have something to work with. And some of the timber country that I was hunting this year with my buddy Jared, it's all thick country, and with pocket parks, and these elk bull to cow ratios are very good. So there's a lot of bulls, but these elk are not moving very far from feeding to bedding. It's all very close. There's always exceptions, based on what features they're using, but yeah, it can be frustrating. And you hear stories of guys that, I'm just bugling at elk and they turn and they're going the other way. And, is it because they're just headed that way anyway? Or are you scaring them? So there's two different things that you have to determine, and then you can figure out what to do from there. But yeah, it's almost better to, and what I found myself doing this year was in the mornings, especially in a new area, which I have no idea what these elk are doing going into a new area every day, maybe. But if something isn't handed to you on a platter at first light and it's a no-brainer, then you're kind of waiting for the morning to roll on. You're waiting for those thermals to stabilize, whether they're going to go up or down, or maybe you're going to get prevailing wind that day. You're letting those bulls lay down and become stationary, and then you have a little bit more control on how you're going to approach a bugle if you're hunting the timber like that. So that's what I found myself doing quite a bit, was, getting close-ish to some bulls and kind of just following them in the morning. And then, a lot of the action was kind of petered out by 8:30 anyway, as far as bugling goes. So then we ended up just hanging out 8:30, 9, 10, 11, and you're just waiting for bugles, and you're trying to pinpoint these bulls on where they're bedding. And, you're popping off location bugles throughout that time too, and not sounding too aggressive, because this unit, they're really known to run from you. They very non-confrontational bulls, probably because of pressure constantly that they're getting and high bull density. And these bulls that don't have cows because competition's so high and they've got their butt whooped or whatever the case may be, is that they're pretty timid. And so by time 11, 12 o'clock rolls around, you have good thermals, you have, hopefully the bull located. In this case, he was kind of around the mountain from us, 400 yards. And he was starting to pipe back at me, and I knew he was in his bed. And as we got closer, I'm not aggressive with my bugles, but I'm just giving him a nice bull calling cows bugle with not too much intensity, but just like a good, nice high ringing note. And he was answering it back, and he was upping his intensity level a little bit. So I knew this bull was going to hold his ground at least a little bit. And so we got within like that 75 yards, and he bugled again, but he wasn't coming. And you're going to know, like, on these bulls, if you're this close to him, like within 100 yards, 75 yards, if you're popping off like a bull calling cows bugle and this bull has cows, he's going to come confront you right now. If he doesn't come in, he probably doesn't have cows. And so we gave him just like 5 or 6 minutes, and I told my camera guy, Tim, he's not coming. So we pressed, and we had the cover, and it sounded like, I had a little bit of visibility down the ridge, and he was down over the ridge there. And we pressed down another 30 yards, and I actually saw him stand up. I could see his antlers stand up down through the timber, and he was just leaving. He was just making an exit out the back door, just over this ridge. And so I could see him going, and he knew we were coming. And at this point, my chance was to cut him off, and we had like an openish ridge to work with. And so I told my camera guy, I was like, come on. So we just started walking, weren't too worried about noise because we had great cover. He couldn't see where we were at because not only the ridge, but the trees. And I just gave him like another piping bugle as I'm walking at him, and he bugled right back. And I knew he was close. I knew the general vicinity where he was because I saw him, and I went another 10 yards and peeked around the corner, and he was standing there at 35 yards. And I was at full draw at that time and stepped out and shot him as he was sneaking off. So the strategy, as you kind of illustrated too, hunting the timber it's very challenging because, and especially if you don't know what these elk are doing, you don't understand what their program is because maybe you've just been in there for the first time. And so, yeah, if you have days, a couple days to kind of figure that out, that's what you have on the upper hand. But it seems like a lot of those bulls are just wandering around down there, and there's really not much rhyme or reason to what they're doing because there's pocket parks pretty much everywhere where they can get feed. But that was probably the funnest hunt, and that was probably the smallest bull of the year, that 5x6 that I killed. But just the tactics and the cat and mouse, reading the behavior, and then being aggressive, like charging in on them without worrying about how much noise you're making. It paid off because I had that topography and that cover working in my favor. So super exciting stuff. I that's what I live for, is those encounters, and just, picking apart a bull's brain on what's going on in his mind, and what's he thinking, what's he doing. And I would say probably satisfaction wise, that was my favorite hunt of the year.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That bull would have got away from a lot of guys, and it's tough to know when to get that aggressive, because you can also make a mistake being too aggressive too quick, where they see you moving or hear you and then look in your direction and you blow them up. But it's about making the right moves at the right times, and you read the situation right, made the right moves. But yeah, I find some of those decisions are tough, and also trying to read what those elk are doing as they're always moving into new as a new location. So a lot of times you don't get the couple days to figure out what their patterns are. At least, one of the high pressure units I was hunting, man, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of guys going hard this year, and then there's just I'd take 10 good hunters over one lousy hunter. Not that they were lousy hunters, they're all just putting in effort and trying to kill a bull. But man, you talk about like not reading the wind or walking into situations and just blowing up elk. It would get frustrating at times, and I know they didn't mean it or anything, but I mean, I had a perfect 6-point with I wanted to kill the 6, and there was also a 5 in the herd, and the 5 came by me at 30 yards and gave me a broadside shot at him, and I just ducked down. He didn't know I was there, and he ran through, and I just coming over the ledge to shoot that 6-point, and they all blow up, and I'm like, man, I got perfect wind right in my face, and then I hear the cow calls and a bugle coming, and it's like guys had walked down. They were 300 yards from the elk, and just the worst downhill thermal wind from them to the elk, and blew up the whole situation, the whole elk. And it happened quite a few times this year. I did find my own experience, my own elk to go after, and if you hunt hard enough, you will find your own elk that you can go play the game. But had quite a few guys that rush in with bad winds, where it's just like, it's not even worth it. You're just going to shut the elk up, and you're going to move them counties away. But I think, these guys are just trying to kill a bull and enjoy their vacation, and probably didn't know any better, and I actually talked to him. I had to walk the same trail out. It was a father and a son that were hunting, and they were just excited to be into some elk. And it's like, oh man, like, talk about the wrong play. If you guys just would have played it right, maybe we both would have killed a bull in through there. But yeah, it's just the way it goes. But yeah, reading those elk, like the more you hunt them, the more you get a feel for what they're going to do and where they're going to move. And I found myself this year, a lot of times I will play elk like coming out on the same meadow that they went back in on. But I've noticed it's fairly low percentage that elk come out in the exact same spot they went in at. Elk like to like flow through country and really move through country. And so that was a good lesson this year as well, is like, there are instances where elk, go into the timber, bed in that timber, and come out in that park, but they really like to go in that timber and then like feed out the other side to the next park or the next meadow. And I even found them getting up middle of the day and kind of feeding their way through a little bit closer to a far meadow, but they really like to like flow through country or make circular loops through country. And sometimes those circular loops can be 2 or 3 days. But I just found myself playing that better and better throughout the year. And like I'd catch elk low, and then I'd follow them in the timber for a while, and they'd be calling or bugling. And then I just wouldn't feel good about either the winds, or like I got in the snow the other day and it was kind of squeaking, or maybe there's just so many elk that it's like, man, this isn't going to pencil out. But kind of call where they're going to bed at, and then where they're going to come out, and have them come in low, work through the timber, and I figure they're bedded on this bench, and then have them work out high in this park, and like be able to call that and predict that gave me opportunities and chances this year, just trying to get in this flow of elk, how they move in and where they're going to show up, and trying to predict where they're going to come out in the evening so I can get a good play. And I didn't get everyone right. Of course, there were some that gave me the slip, like, where in the heck did those things go to? But for the most part, I played them really well, where they went in and where I thought they were going to come out. And that predicting where they come out, because you only have so much time in the evening with good winds, really helped me like get good plays on these elk, and really like predicted a lot of their movements, which really helped in me killing a bull and, getting good chances.
Yeah, it's like the the heartbeat of the mountains or the flow of the mountains, like you said, is a good way of putting it, is understanding and feeling out, what you're feeling out what's happening and what the elk are doing. And once you can like really grasp that, your percentage of success is just going to go up so much. And I think that's a great little tip there with, elk going into the timber, especially during the rut, and then trying to anticipate where they're going to come back out onto a feeding feature. And yeah, like you said, it's so rare for them to come back out the way they came in this time of year, or like during the rut. Like, it just doesn't happen. And so, yeah, if you can be in that space, in that headspace, to be like, okay, I need to think ahead here. Where are they going to come out at? What are they doing? Like, and sometimes you just, elk are doing what elk do, and there's no explanation or reasoning for what they're doing, based on how they're traveling and maybe following the undulation of the land or whatever. But yeah, the times that they are predictable and that you can predict them, that's probably when you're gonna fill your tag. So yeah, very important stuff, and we're always learning too. And the crazy thing is that every state, every mountain range, every unit can have different activity, whether it's rut, whether it's movement from feeding to bed, depending on the year, depending on hunting pressure, on green up, on how much feeds out there. Is there agriculture in the unit? Gosh, and I think that's probably what makes it so difficult, is every unit is so wildly different, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. At every unit and then inside the unit, I found myself hunting one spot that had a couple great bulls in the drainage, but they just didn't have many cows. Like both of those bulls only had a handful of cows and one satellite bull with the one, but they just didn't have competition. So they weren't rutting or bugling that hard, it seems like, and so I'd kind of hunt that spot, but then a couple days later, like I figure out where I think those elk should be or where the elk are, and I move whatever it is 20 miles in the unit, and then there's a bunch of cows in there and a bunch of competition, and they're rutting like crazy, and so yeah, it can just change. But where they were rutting like crazy, they weren't as big as the couple bulls I had found in the back in the first spot, which yeah, it is wild, like per unit, per habitat. In the first spot I was hunting those big bulls, they were way more timber bound, where the second spot didn't have any pressure, and I'd catch them moving middle of the day out in features, and so yeah, you're right, unit by unit, even mountain by mountain or drainage by drainage, they just have different behaviors and patterns and movements to them. And yeah, it's like trying to dial all that in, trying to solve the puzzle of where they're at. But yeah, man, it's the cool thing is we are always learning, and there is no ceiling to how good you can get at this bow hunting game. And I think that's what this year taught me, was like all these days of elk hunting and making all these moves after him, that there really is no ceiling to how good you can get at the winds, at behavior, at your intuition, your instincts, like shot execution, and then things happen, and it is a mental game where you got to pick yourself up and not throw a tantrum and get back after him, which is what I had to do. I had another miss on a bull that was just, and you kind of recall these situations, and you're like, man, I wasted seconds here, I wasted seconds there. And basically I glassed up this bull in this little pocket of timber in at night with no chance to get to him. So in the morning I showed up there. He only bugled twice in the morning, and I roll up on him, but I just got a perfect wind blowing right back in my face. And I come up and I spot a cow, and she's feeding in this park. And great, there's got to be more elk with her. He's got to be with her. And so I kind of circle around, and I don't knock an arrow. I don't click my release, because all I've seen is a cow. And I come up, and there's the bull standing there broadside at like 65 yards. And I'm trying to, like, I glassed him from a long ways away the night before. So I'm trying to make sure it's a bull I want to shoot. And he's like staring right at my direction. I don't know if he's heard me walking up, but he's on to me. And so he's like 65 yards, and I've got a window at his vitals that is just perfect. I glass him up. Yeah, it's the right bull. Knock my arrow, click my release. I get the cameraman adjusted behind me so he can see him, and draw back and just settle my pin and start pulling. And that shot breaks. And that elk, he didn't jump the string. Like, I can watch it in slow motion, and he starts to turn his head from looking at me to away from me, and this elk just like rolls away from me at the exact time as my shot breaks. I know I didn't make that shot break when he moved because I know better to do that. My pin was on him and shot broke, and he just rolls away from me and rolls and slides right back, and the arrow goes right in front of him. Like, it's just that timing. And I'm like, man, I wasted 15 seconds looking to make sure it was the right bull. I wasted 10 seconds getting my cameraman into position. I wasted 10 seconds knocking my arrow. He was standing there broadside the whole time, like for minutes in there, as I snuck around, and just right at that moment, he just like have a knack for just making the right moves, and he just rolled. And luckily I didn't hit him bad, or didn't, nothing happened or come of it. But, it crushes you when you get those opportunities and it doesn't come together. And it was just like, man, it was gift wrap for me. He was standing there broadside at 65 years. It was just gift wrap. And it like, he just happened to move right at that time, right as my shot was breaking. And sometimes that's the way seasons can go and opportunities can go. And, the only thing you can do is pick yourself back up and get after them again, but bow hunting will break your heart at times.
That it will. And it's just amazing the level. There's always a percentage of just luck, whatever you want to call it, luck, that you have to have. Like, what are the odds that bull turned right then when you were at full draw and the arrow went right by him?
I have no idea. It's astronomical. He was there broadside for minutes.
Yeah. You can't make this stuff up. And sometimes that's just the way it goes. And other times, they turn into the arrow, or golly, they don't even jump the string. That bull I was telling you about that I charged up on, he's 35 yards and he just stood there and took it like a man. He didn't even jump the string. And my other bull that I just killed too, same thing. I yelled at him to get him to stop. I was like barked at him, and he just turned and just screamed right at me. And by time he was finished with his bugle, he had an arrow through his heart. So it's like, but that scenario could have gone totally different, based on the attitude of that bull, and if he has cows or not, and how switched on he is, and all these other little scenarios. And so that's what I tell myself too, is that, particularly with the stinking antelope that I was hunting, it's like, you can catch an antelope on the wrong day and he's just going to be extra flighty, or he's going to be extra tuned up for whatever reason. And it's just frustration train the whole time, because you just can't get something to pan out. And then, I told my camera guy, Tim, and Jack, when I was hunting with them, I was like, I was pissed by August 31st about this big buck, because I wanted to kill this buck. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back in 2 weeks. I know I'm going to have some, something will happen in between an elk hunt, and I'll have a day or two, and I'll come back. We're going to start fresh. We'll have more of the rut to work with. They get a little bit more crazy, during the peak of the rut. Those antelope, they rut the same time that elk do. And, I just need something to change. I just need to step away, walk away, and just walk it off. Right. And so we go back out there, and you have all these stocks and all these days from August that you're just beating your head against the wall, and you're missing this buck twice. And yeah, he turned. That's a whole nother story. I missed him the second time, and he didn't know I was there, and it was 71 yards this time. But God forbid he jumped the string again, and I just clipped the hair on the front of his neck as he spun to go away. And it's like, how did he even know? Like, it's not like, the Matthews is that loud of a bow, but when it's dead silent out and you have a twitchy little bugger like an antelope and he can hear everything, yeah, they're going to jump the string sometimes. but that's the thing. You can't predict this stuff. And so back, I go out, like, what was it, September 15th or 16th, I go antelope hunting. We get up on this master vantage, and I was like, Tim, there he is. He hasn't moved. I missed him in the same spot, 2.5 weeks ago. He hasn't moved. He has 7 does. So we just drive down there, what we did a million times in August, and park the truck and did a little, elementary stalk over the hill. And there he was, standing at 50 yards, quartering away, not looking. And I draw back, and his doe saw me draw and rise, and she kind of jumped forward, but I think he just thought it was from her or something. And he looked back, and by the time he looked back at me, the arrow was on its way, and shot him right through the heart. He didn't jump the string and went 50 yards and was dead. And you're like, why couldn't it have been this easy in August? But it's just like, it's the journey of the bow hunt. It's the heartbeat of the prairie. And some days you're just not in rhythm, and the animals aren't in rhythm. And then other days you're like, I just killed the biggest buck I've seen in this unit after 8, 9 days of scouting and hunting. And you just, at the end of the day, you just laugh it off, and that's bow hunting, man. That's just the way it goes. You just need that little switch of luck sometimes.
You do. Yeah. I think a good reset helps as well. I know I hunted 11 days straight for elk and lost a bunch of weight. I was backpacking all of it and just making plays and wanted it so bad, and then missed that bull in the end, and it was just crushed me. And then 2 days off and I show back up and I kill a bull the first evening. It's just like a couple days off, reset the brain, shot some arrows, went back, made smart plays. It was just like a fresh state of mind. Went in the mountains, ready to get it done, and it just came together, made the right moves. I actually spotted that bull and killed him based on my fitness, really. I mean, I saw him, and it was like, can I get to him or can I not? And pretty much ran the whole way down the mountain and then closed in on that bull, and it was a rut fest. And then caught him and his cows in the sage, like where I wanted to, eating feature instead of the timber, and able to use the undulation and move around and get a shot on him. Pause my cameraman, move 10 more yards, take a shot. Didn't react to the arrow, hit him absolutely perfect, and tipped over in sight within about 40 yards. It was just like perfect, just perfect bow hunting. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, I've been trying so hard to create this. Not only the 11 days, but another 3 days in my home state or whatever, trying so hard to create that. And then it just comes together, like it's meant to be. So yeah, that's bow hunting. It's the ride we're on. And sometimes you do, as much as I hate to admit it, you're right. Like, a little bit of luck goes a long ways. Just a situation, just a little bit here or there, and it's also making the right moves and executing your shot and doing all the right things. But man, sometimes you just need a little bit of luck, and that's what I needed for sure.
the 64 variables that have to come together for it to happen, and it's that last one that it's just like, I just need luck. I just need him to spin the right way or stand there and take that arrow like a man. I just need something.
Yeah. God, it's so it, man. Yeah, it's so it. But what a fun season. I know I'm a better hunter because of it. And really, I hunt a lot of late season mule deer. So yeah, I'm just at the halfway point, and yeah, just fortunate. The days I got, time in the mountains, the close interactions. And I've told you before, like, the funnest part of bow hunting for me is the action, like getting into them and making plays. And I got a lot of that this year, which was a beautiful thing, man. It was like, so much. It just makes me realize too that there's still great hunting out there. There's still great hunting locations. There is no ceiling to my skill set, that I can continue to get better. That, man, I got a lot of years to enjoy this game, which is really fun. And now kind of moving into mule deer, which is great. And got a mule deer trip planned, spot I've been developing for a couple years. I think I got a rock solid plan. There's some really good bucks in the age class in there. So yeah, I'm going to head in there tomorrow with a good buddy, and super excited for it. And it's fun. It comes all at once. It isn't spaced out. Like, you don't really get time to recover all that much, or to get your head right. Or, I had a couple days there in between that, which really helped. But man, it's just full steam ahead when it's hunting season. It's just trying to manage the chaos and get your days out there, and make sure you're doing your part. But Matthews held the tune all year long, which was great, man. No stretch on the strings or anything through rain, snow, hot weather. Like, that thing's just been shooting rock solid, where I've got all the confidence in the world in that bow. But man, it's been really fun. I know you've had a heck of a season, man. Bunch of encounters and chances. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. It is. It seems like, before season hits and you're like, holy smokes, my schedule's busy, or I got a lot of hunts planned, a lot of days gone, and then poof, September's gone. It seems like, in a blink of an eye, a couple nights. So it's like, yeah, you take advantage of it while you can, and get all the work and the family time and the home time done. And and make sure everybody's good before season starts. And then, yeah, it goes quick. That's for sure. Got to take advantage of it. And, we've talked so much in the past too, that, it'd be easy to go home and just quit after a tough 10 days, like what you had, and just be done and be like, I gave it my all. And that's it. But yeah, sometimes I can't tell you how many times that I've beat my head up against the wall for maybe a solid week on elk or whatever. And then I just change it up. You got to change up. What do they call it? The feng shui is, I don't even know what I'm saying, but just you're changing up like the mood or the tone of where you're hunting, and just things aren't in rhythm. And then you're just going to someplace totally new, and you're in there for 2 hours and you're tagged out, and you're like, what just happened? Like, why was it so easy here, but I've been beating my head up against the wall, over in this other spot? And I don't know how many hunts that have ended up like that, but I do know by that, keeping that persistence and keeping that positive attitude, you're going to come home successful a lot more often than not. And then you won't be sitting there January, February, thinking about tags and thinking about how maybe I should have put a little bit more effort into my hunt, but I just got to, it was tough, and I got some days in, and I called it quits. But so yeah, I learned that lesson a long time ago, where I regretted my effort on hunts. This is probably like when I was a late teenager, 19, maybe 20 years old. And I only made that mistake once. And so every hunt, no regrets. I'm going to go full throttle. I'm going to hunt as much as I can, that time allows, and keep a positive attitude, and not be lazy, and just give it a full, honest effort. And then at the end of that time, maybe that's allocated towards the hunt, or, maybe you get weathered out. And I mean, there is a percentage of our hunts, we've all been there, where you just chalk it up to being unsuccessful. That's bow hunting. It doesn't jive all the time. There's not animals all the time that are available. And they just doesn't always work out. You have weather and predators and hunters. So there's all these things against you. And so ultimately that's bow hunting, and you have to be able to accept that too, and accept defeat as well. But that, deep down, that you gave it your 110%. And there's nothing that you'll ever regret about giving a hunt or anything in life 110%.
Yeah. Yeah, it's well said. Yeah, that's it. I've learned throughout the years that persistence, and God, I just can't quit. I just gotta keep trying. Sometimes it is beating my head against the wall, but it was a trying season, and I know eventually I'll get my opportunities and it'll go my way. But keeping that positive mental attitude. That was a bit of a breakdown for me this year, missing that bull close, like I haven't been that low for quite a while. I just didn't know how I screwed it up. But you're right, that is bow hunting. And man, I've had a lot of success over the years, and this was one of the most challenging years, most days, close calls, things not going my way that I had. But I just kept fighting through it, and I kept enjoying my time in the mountains and the plays I got and opportunities, new spots that I found that I'll hunt in the future. They're just great locations, no people, elk in there. So I was like, man, I just had a absolute ton of fun. And I can't wait to get to some deer here and turn the page here on the hunting season and chase some of those things around. But man, it's been an elk season for the ages, man. It was like all time for me. It's great action and great bulls. And I'm just glad there's that opportunity out there for us where it's still alive and well, and it's extremely difficult. But I think that's also why I love it, is that it's something that, I can get good at, but boy, mastering is sure tough. And the moment you think you're dialed or you have it, like, they humble you, they turn and roll from the arrow, they duck a string, and it just kills me. It can be mistakes on my part too. I had this chance the last night with my cameraman on a great 330 bull with a bunch of cows, and I knew the right move to make. Had called him in the evening, and I knew I had to slow play him and slow play the thermals when the hillside got shaded. And I just like kept trying to get myself in position because he's working this diagonal meadow. And it's kind of like that thing we were talking about where I can predict his movement. I know where him and his cows are going. He's a great bull with 20, 30 cows. They've got a satellite bull with him. I know where he's going to come. I know where to cut him off and where to set up. I just need this sun to go over the dang mountain and shade this hillside. And I'm playing the wind the whole time through the timber, and the wind's good right in my face. And so I keep like edging up and edging up and edging up. And I almost know that I should wait and hold up. And I keep kind of pushing towards the edge of that meadow. And sure enough, that wind switches around and no more bugles from that fired up bull. And I like made my move maybe 15 minutes too early on that bull. And it got shaded. The thermals went down. And it's like I played the winds great all season long and then made this mistake on the winds. And I knew better, it just kills me. But yeah, sometimes I'm a hard learner, tough learner, where you got to make those mistakes over and over again. And sometimes you can't trust that wind checker, man. It's like you got to have a higher understanding of what the winds are doing and when they're going to change. And pushing up through that dark timber, of course, that wind was good the whole time. But the moment I get on the edge of that meadow, that directional overpowered it, and it went right up to those elk. And I was still 300 yards away. And I blew up the whole scenario without even giving myself a chance. And it just killed me. It was like one of the worst plays I made all season long. But that is the game. They are not easy. And man, you get in those mountains and you think, oh, I'll play the wind right. Sometimes there is no playing the wind right. Like sometimes it swirls around in some of those bold basins where you almost have to just decide not to go in after them or play them in a different location. It's just, there's so many gray areas with decisions. It just isn't black and white, but you have to trust yourself. You make the best decisions you can. And you get a lot of them right. And occasionally you make a big mistake and you feel like a big idiot and you got to start over at square one. And that is the game.
Yep. Exactly. That is the game. And it's amazing going back to the wind, especially in this open country, how far away they can smell you from.
Yeah.
Like just this last week when I was hunting, it was 10 days ago by now, but we were on the mountain and we had the thermals running downward. It was first thing in the morning, and this 5-point, I ranged him. He was 550 yards down below us, straight below us, coming across this open bench, and the wind's just dropping down at our back, going right downhill towards him. And I watched him the whole time as he went across, and he's coming across, and I was like, well, it's actually kind of good if we do blow him because he's just going to get in the way anyway. And he stopped down there and he's looking up the hill. And then he did like the old like antelope bolt where he like bolted and like did his little trot prance and was like looking around and then boogied out of there. Like the sucker winded us from 500 plus yards away with, not much geographical features in between us and him, but that wind just took our scent right down on the mountain to him. Crazy.
That's a long ways. Usually I think of like 400 yards max or whatever if the wind's totally wrong, but that's a long ways to wind you from, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can see them wind you, it's like, that's the only elk I really screwed up the wind was that group out of so many days hunting. I did have like another big herd bull and I had a cow step out and it was right in the morning thermals when they were starting to change and she was in range 50 yards and I thought that bull might walk up and we had our thermals right. And I watched her wind me after about 7 minutes. It was only one elk and watched her go. And then I couldn't back out of there quick enough and two bulls walked up where she was and they stood there for 3 to 5 minutes. And then I watched them wind us, but you can almost watch them wind you, or you can also tell, not from me, but from other guys that would come in with bad wind, they just stop calling and bugling altogether. They can be fired up, stop calling, and they get the heck out of there. But you can tell when they wind you like that or see them wind you. But that's a long ways, man. That's got to be like a record distance for me, 500 yards.
Yeah. Crazy.
Well, cool. Really pumped for your success this year, man. You played it right, killed some great bulls, had a great season, great antelope, and I know you still got some hunts to go on, but it was amazing to watch your success and hear your stories, man. And just stoked you had a good season.
Yeah, it was great. Let's keep after. We got some deer. I'm looking forward to deer here in November and helping some buddies here at the end of this month. But yeah, it's like, okay, here we go. Let's gear up and go do her again. Just a little bit smaller species, a little easier on the back, packing out. I do like that about deer.
I will take that. Yeah, those elk are heavy, aren't they? Yeah, no, they're super fun. Yeah, I can't wait. And so yeah, well, it's nice to join up podcast. It's been quite a while since we had chatted, and we just thank a couple sponsors. We want to thank Everly Stock and Stealth Cam for everything they do and supporting the podcast, and Eastmans, of course, everything we do there. So thanks to those guys. And yeah, man, get some deer hunting in, and let's touch bases in a couple weeks and see what you're up to, and hopefully you got a big buck down.
Sounds good.
Okay.